mistakes, I know I lied. I should have noticed, yeah, I should have tried. And all the loving that I just ignored, I'm gonna revive it, I'm gonna revive it. I know I made mistakes, I know I lied. I should have noticed, yeah, I should have tried. And all the loving that I just ignored, I'm gonna revive it, I'm gonna revive it, I'm gonna revive it. I'm gonna revive it. I'm gonna revive it. I'm gonna revive it.
Okay, real quick, mic check, mic check. How are we sounding? Thank you, chat.
Got a dopamine rush, got a major league crush when you're next to me. Got my heart upon my sleeve, can I hide the way I feel when you're next to me, girl? Got the kick in every move and I fought it's like a fool for you, for you. Wish I knew just what it was, but why should I make a fuss? Just stay next to me, girl, next to me, girl. Something special, don't know why, something special that I like about you, about you. There's a mystery entwined, something bigger to define about you, about you. Am I the only one to see? Got me down on my knees, taken by your gravity. And I just know you got that something, something special about you. Got me under lock and key, but I don't wanna be free when I'm next to you. You're like honey to a bee, I go crazy for the sweet when I'm next to you, girl. Got the kick in every move and I fought it's like a fool for you, for you. It might seem that I'm dumb, but it's you that's got me stunned. Stay next to me, girl, next to me, girl. Something special, don't know why, something special that I like about you, about you. There's a mystery entwined, something bigger to define about you, about you. Am I the only one to see? Got me down on my knees, taken by your gravity. And I just know you got that something, something special about you. You got it down, shake my ground, and I can't get enough, got me spellbound. And every day, in every way, I just know there's something about you. Something special, don't know why, something special that I like about.
Danny Chu gave us early access to the new Smart Doll Evolve frame. I'm Sandy,
And I'm John.
and this is my Lady Disdain. I effed it up again. You don't need to know what we were gonna say, because this is awesome!
She got a little excited there. Jumped the gun. This lovely lady, the doll, not my wife, who is also lovely,
And screws everything up.
found her way to us yesterday. We literally just got her.
Yeah.
It's
So
insane.
This is Never Say Never in Cinnamon, chosen by Danny.
we apologize for the lack of an unboxing. And thank you, Plastically Adored.
Thank you very much. And thank you for staying up with us.
They say, thank you for creating a safe space to enjoy Smart Doll and for creating such great content. We really appreciate it, and all the support definitely helps. We have, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. So this is really our first impressions. I mean, we just opened her yesterday afternoon. We've done a little playing with her, a little exploring, trying to figure out what we wanted to share with you guys. But this is really like our genuine first impressions of the new frame and how it works with the doll.
Yeah, Danny just put out a whole long article about the Evolve frame, going into like a lot of how it's made, all the things to be aware of, all as usual, all the reasons not to buy. So we strongly advise you to go read that article. There's a link to it in the description. It's really well worth the read, and there's a lot of little details in there. We won't necessarily get to all of them today, but we will be, of course, talking about this probably on Monday in the Smart Doll News. The main thing to understand, if you haven't seen the news, is the Smart Doll frame is dropping next week. On, I think, by March 3rd, he said, which is Mirai's birthday. So very cool. We're getting it even sooner than we anticipated.
Yep.
And we really want to just get a jump on it.
Yeah, so we're going to be hopefully bringing you some more content this week related to the frame before it releases.
Yeah. I also do want to note that Lovely Day is in the stream. I wanted to give Lovely Day a shout out because she's going to be on Beyond the Doll tonight with Shizu-san. So if you haven't watched that, Shizu-san does a great,
very in-depth interview.
Yep.
Yeah, we have been on his show, and he'll spend the time it takes, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much just like, we're going to talk. We're going to talk till we're done talking. And it's a lot of fun. It's a, it's a great just like deep dive into whatever is, kind of the stuff that goes on with that particular guest. We were talking about, running YouTube channels and being in the doll community. I'm guessing... Lovely says, be sure to bring snacks. I'm guessing Lovely will be talking about dolls, and I know Lovely does like Twitch streaming and stuff like that, so I'm sure a lot of interesting topics.
Yep.
So check that out. And in the meantime, I think we should just dig in here.
Yes. By the way, this doll is beautiful. If you have not seen Never Say Never in person,
let's introduce
lovely.
her. Hello. She is gorgeous.
What's really interesting is we didn't know who was coming, and Magical Girl Kit Kat actually has Never Say Never and brought her to DollCon and everything. And I thought she was so cute. And it's really interesting how this particular face-up seems to make the G7 sculpt appear a little bit more wide set.
Yeah.
Like it's a little bit wider and flatter, just by the way the paint is done.
Yep. Yeah, the eyes look really, really cool. And just the, that little touch of asymmetry with the beauty mark, I absolutely love.
And she's wearing a beautiful hat that Linda, one of our members of the court, made for Miranda, but I didn't bring Miranda to DollCon, so the other dolls have had a chance to wear them instead.
Are we keeping this on so that her hair is more contained while we mess around?
Yeah, that was basically the idea, but we could probably take her wig off too.
Yeah, okay, so we'll just pop that off. They all look good bald. They're so good.
She does bald really well, though.
No, she does. Got our notes here. first up, we did want to talk about aesthetics and kind of compare the bodies. I can get this out of here now. You want to grab the regular, or what we're now referring to as the previous frame.
Right. So here we have Never Say Never, the new doll, in the gray underwear. And in this lighter colored underwear, we have Anime North, also in cinnamon.
Let's see if we can...
Anna's commenting, no cyber cap. I don't understand exactly what happened there. Like Danny sent us this. He did send her without a cyber cap, although he did say that the dolls were going to start coming with cyber caps or orange caps. I'm not sure exactly what the situation is right now.
Yeah, in terms of when the official changeover is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I will say it's... Like, right off the bat, it's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the details, this is the previous frame. This is the new frame and the shoulders. All around, what we've noticed is each of these joints fits ever so slightly better. Let me see if I can get, like, if you take a look under there. You can see how there's more room underneath the shoulder. There's more give in there. All of these joints definitely fit together a teeny bit more snugly.
Right, and even we could even see it in the elbow as well. When you turned it and showed the underarm and everything, the shoulder, the elbow actually fits a little more snug as well.
Yep. Let's remove tops.
Okay.
Hmm.
Should we take out an arm and show first?
We can. I have that farther down the list, but we can. Okay, there's your normal head coming off and taking the arm off.
So there's the difference in the two shoulder pegs.
So you got it, like, it's a really nice, secure connection with the shoulder. I will point, love the sound when she moves. You may also be hearing their feet tip-tapping back here.
Right. I did move an arm though, so we'll go over that as we go.
The joint, the shoulder I did not find harder to take off, really.
No, the shoulder's not bad.
Some of the other joints have changed a bit. So, all right. I would actually say they're a little bit easier on the shoulders. So we're going to take the tops off. So
I'm just going to slide it down.
Well,
for now.
Fine. And then I'm going to put these back in so we have the fit. That's the wrong one. Okay. Almost immediately, just with even the shadow from the lights, you can see the difference in the gapping under the bust.
It's so much closer and more seamless on the new frame. So even if I can make a gap, but it's still not nearly as much as that one creates.
Yep.
And then if you turn it around, let's turn it over. you can see it fits a little bit better too. So those of us who like to sew, we can make, like more fitted garments that will have less showing of that bump when the doll moves.
Right. We also have the knee joints. Big difference. And I think this is the biggest contributor to the height difference.
Right, because if you read Danny's article, I believe he said there is a 2 millimeter height difference now.
That's what I remember you telling me, and I can't remember.
I think it says 2 millimeter, but make sure you go and read the article. 2 millimeters is like nothing. I mean, a seam allowance for a smart doll garment is 7 millimeters.
Now, there is a warning here because of this tightening up. This is more aesthetically pleasing. You can see how the cut in the vinyl doesn't show nearly as quickly. But because of that difference, ever so slightly, the knee joint is stuck at 90 degrees, whereas the old one can go a little bit past 90 degrees.
Right. So you can't go. It's a little more, but it's not as far as this one.
Yeah, it has a little bit less room on the new one. And then the joints, the ankle joints, are tighter as well. So ankles, knees, shoulders, head, shoulders.
Head, shoulders,
Knees
knees,
and
toes.
toes.
The ankle joint on the new frame has more of that appearance of the heel feet when the heel feet come down and you don't see as much of the ball.
Yeah. So we were wondering about the heel feet. Danny did answer that basically there might be heel feet coming specifically for this frame. For now, the only way to put heel feet on this frame would be to heat up the vinyl shell of the foot from a heel foot and swap it onto here. Which, if you're if A, you have heel feet already, and B, you are pretty much only going to be, you're not going to change heel to flat very often, and you always use heel feet, that may be worth doing. But that definitely makes it much more annoying to swap it out. So something to look at and keep your eye out for if Danny does come out with an evolved version of the heel foot so that you have the full mechanism.
Because he did mention that it was on the original plan, but he doesn't know when.
So let's take a look. Now, again, as with all things on Smart Doll, it's pretty much pull and wiggle or twist. But it is much harder. It's still doable, but look at the stability of this thing. It was before a little post that went up into into a socket like this. Now he's put essentially the posts are on either side of the shin, the bottom leg, and you have a much more sturdy connection on the ankle. And you can see, as typically does not have a whatchamacallit. Like you remember, he used to have like all those little because of the little posts that it was on.
There's a little foam thing around.
He had a little spacer to keep it in here, whereas this really provides a nice connection.
Backwards. There you go. So, cons, I mean, not that this is an issue right now because you probably won't be removing this peg because there are no heel feet, but this is not easy to remove the feet. So for somebody who might have a little less hand strength, it might not, that might be something that you would think about.
Jane Hall asks, can some lubricant be put on to make it easier to remove foot for dressing? I don't know what lubricant would do to those. It's essentially what it's connecting to is, we've seen them in pictures. It's what he's calling the haptic shaft. Mm-hmm. And it's basically that post that, used to be there, but it's got all these dots. Instead of like a gear or ridges, it has little dots, like a grid of dots, so that it both has the haptic feedback when you're pulling it in and out and turning it. For this, so I have no idea. Maybe Danny has some opinions on what that might do to it, but I would recommend against it. It's really, again, here I'm gonna, this is my third time doing it.
You hear that pop.
Yeah. It takes more effort, but it's also one of those things where I feel like I don't have to worry about about using that effort. Before, when it would get stuck and it would be harder to pull out.
You'd be worried that you were breaking the peg.
And you probably would break the peg. So I think there's a lot less to worry about when dealing with, putting this joint in and out. Much more sturdy. I also have to say, I mean, we had her standing up. Jane says, you're strong, thinking about tight pants. Sandy, go ahead.
Me pull it out?
Yeah, try the other one, because I haven't
Okay.
done that last. Do it up on camera.
Okay, so I pulled it out part way and pushed it back in, and you could probably hear that joint, that peg. Okay, I got it.
How bad?
I would say probably maybe 25% tougher than the current one.
Feels like a little bit tougher than the old knee used to be coming out.
Yeah. So it is harder.
But it's also reliably, that's the other thing. I feel like it's reliably, it's going to take that amount of effort versus the other ones, swelled and, I don't know. But
And I guess you'd have to think about how often do you actually need to take the feet off to change the clothes? I mean, there's very few items that actually require that.
yeah, and I would say, I could say, what would Danny say in this situation? Be sure, if you have any question at all, try and get hands-on with one of these bodies before you buy it.
Meet up with somebody if there's anybody close to you.
And we'll probably be saying that a lot tonight. I'm going to try the same thing. Put her to the side for the moment. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try the same thing with the knee.
Which we have not done this yet.
I have yet to be able to pull this out. For the most part, the only reason you should need to remove the shin, basically the bottom part of the leg, would be, let's get rid of that, would be if you're trying to do the prosthetic leg or something like that, or you're really getting custom with it. So typically it's always, been pull and wiggle. There it goes.
You got it.
I hit her head into the leg of something.
You hit it. Yeah, you hit it into north.
Into north, yeah. So there is, and again, okay. So this is not the shaft like it used to be. These have reversed from what they were on the previous dolls. Just because I know I can do this.
That was much easier.
Yeah. So there's your previous version. So instead of this inserting into something, this goes around a post on the other end.
Right.
And interestingly enough, it actually doesn't. Let's get in there. It actually goes into an even larger...
Okay, so in the case of the knee, it goes inside. The thigh is the one that goes around.
Not bad. We are disassembling our brand new doll.
That's what it's here for. So Mimiko Minis wants to know how hard the hands are to remove. Just the hand itself.
Go for it.
If you get a good hold on the ball joint, not hard at all. But they do stay on better.
But here's the way, I mean, that looked like you were doing all the things like I try to avoid doing even on the normal dolls. Basically, if you're just grabbing like this, what I always find you want to do is pull it off from like a side of that flat piece.
Oh, yeah, I never do it that way. I always just twist and pull like the other things.
Yeah, no, you want to go one lateral direction.
So yes, you can get the hands off.
These are slightly new. They've got some ridges on the side.
Someone else answered in the chat, but I'm going to clarify. Jane asked, are we going to be able to choose the frame that we want when we order a doll? The older frames are being phased out. I believe Danny said there will be simplicity kits in Chaos, but all dolls will end up coming on the Evolve frame. However, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want Evolve frames for their large collection. I mean, I know we would probably take a few more. So, you know, you'll probably be able to very easily swap with people.
All right, now the head. Just like the old one, as far as taking it in and out. There is no disc on the inside, anything like that. The heads have not changed. If you're looking at what looks like a disc, you might be looking at his little head thing that he made for when he has the frame. He has basically the frame with the little fake articulated hands, the mech hands, and this little flat, almost like droid head.
He used an eye cradle, but that's all that's in there.
One point of articulation here, which we'll be getting more into, but since I have the head off at the moment, is...
back on. Squeeze that head.
So these differ in that these joints are connected straight onto the Geton armature joints, which make up the entire spine. This is like a 3-piece spine, and it has a specific haptic joint up here in the neck. Mm-hmm. So it can do all that normally, but it actually can go off to one side really nicely.
And with the head on, it gives you such a natural head tilt. It looks really good.
So look at the difference between those two. So that is good. I think we're just going to end up with a table full of parts by the end of this.
Well, we're going to need to put her back together so we can do comparative poses
That's
anyway.
True. I should just put on one of the prosthetic legs while I'm here. So let's just double check here. Another piece of aesthetics is the new support socket. So you've got a new teardrop design, and it just, I mean, it fits beautifully.
It's recessed a little bit more. So it's not going to have, you're not going to see anything of the stand sticking out.
Yeah, it really stays in the, anything that is skin tight is going to really stay nicely. The other cool thing about this is this used to be, this one gets glued in. So this is actually like glued into place, and that's sort of like how the frame is connected to all of the vinyl pieces.
Someone said, is the one with the space between the bust evolve? No, Magic Durgan. The one with the space in between in the white underwear is the V2 frame. It's our Anime North. The Evolve frame is the dark gray underwear.
And the teardrop design on the support socket. So the new support socket is pretty cool because they screw it into place now, which means the bodies can be taken apart. You can actually fully disassemble a doll by unscrewing the support socket.
Which before you could not do. Like if you had a problem with the torso and the thigh, they were connected.
They had to replace the torso.
To get help.
They had to replace the whole thing. And that also means apparently, and we've talked about this briefly, he has teased the possibility that they're working on things that connect into the torso because they have a screw there. So now they can screw other things into it. So really interesting kind of concept in terms of like what possibilities. We talked about like, Doc Ock, arms and stuff.
Right. Anna says you can take apart a V2 body too, but it involves heating and prying the vinyl from under the socket. Yeah, and I don't think that's something that the average doll customer is going to do. I think you have to be really willing to tinker. So.
And Anna says it's glued to the spine, not the vinyl. But the point is that it's glued. It's basically sandwiching the two together. So you have this again, a bunch of like better aesthetic options, a lot of tightening up of things. Again, we noted slightly with the knees slightly shorter.
Mm-hmm. Someone also asked how that was going to affect pants length. 2 millimeters is not very much at all, and Danny has specifically said that it does not require adjusting any of the patterns, which means that the clothes fit.
Yep. So, and again, with all these joints are much more secure, but they are more difficult to remove than they were, which is both a good thing and could be annoying to you if you're doing it constantly. Mm-hmm. All right. Haptic feedback.
Let's do it. I know everybody is curious.
You've been hearing a bit.
So you can say, like, if they are going to click with the new frame.
Oh my. Oh.
Huh?
Oh.
Yeah, right?
Oh, geez, Sandy. That was bad. Okay, so we're going to. We've got our microphone up here. I'm gonna start moving some joints in order of basically what I believe is kind of like softest, to loudest. Now, you'll notice very little happening, but that's where the gear is. This is where the haptic gear is on this axis.
So going around in a rotation vertically, basically.
Again, rotating it, it's a little. This is less sound than it is like feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sound is almost like when you get a really tight doll. Like it's been very, very tight and new and has to loosen up. But the feel makes it different.
Now, here's again where we get into the actual haptic feedback for this particular joint. So that's the elbow. The wrist rotating, not much at all, and a little bit.
BJD Doll Fam says Smart Doll ASMR was not on my 2023 bingo card.
And I do want to warn you. You are listening to a nice microphone and a compressed audio stream. Do not take this as representative of how loud it is, because of course then it's also dependent on how loud your speakers are. So this is really the only thing I can show you is relative loudness to each other. Right, so
we could actually do like, you can barely hear the vinyl move on the old frame.
Legs had more frequent. Danny talks about the creak. I think there was
pretty smooth.
There was somebody in, I don't know if it was, I was looking at the Smart Doll Reddit or if it was like on one of the Facebook groups, but somebody was asking about, does your Smart Doll creak all the time? Mm-hmm. And basically it's normal, but it's not like a design element, for those dolls. It's just the nature of expanding vinyl, the pressure plates that are the joints. So that's the arms. We'll do the spine, or here's the neck. Not much.
You're hearing more the shift of the body in his hand than you are the neck.
All right, that's more vinyl creak, and all right. So not too much with the spine. I'm gonna go down to the ankles.
Just sounds tight. But now you can hear the click.
That's up and down, and then rotating a little bit less so. Oh, that one wasn't in all the way. Here we have the knee.
Danielle Duvall says, I kind of like it. I actually do too. But I know that there are some people that have sensory issues with it.
You're not going to do this very much. This is rotating. And this is the louder noise. Oh no, where'd it go? Magic Turk says, now I'm going to relate to my dolls more. I also make those sounds when I get up and down.
You and me both.
Magic Turk, you're too young for that. But then we also got yelled at by two 70-year-old couple or something in the airport, and I was like, I feel older than you, so like my back.
We're done.
So that was the knee. And here comes the big one, the thighs. And we knew this was coming because Danny said straight up, the thighs had to have more torque on them in order, because they have to hold up the whole body. Mm-hmm. And so they've got a lot more weight put on them. So this is the loudest joint on the doll. And then we go to the side. Now, I will note, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this, but the two sides sound different. And this is actually one of Danny's reasons not to buy, in that the joints, especially the hips, sound different from each other because the hips are actually reversed from each other.
Mm-hmm. Let's get a picture, yeah.
Yeah, let's...
You can see it on there a little bit. Not flat.
That's pretty good, I think.
There we go.
Let's go over to that. I can't zoom in any more than that, but basically, we've talked about on the news, but these two, the thigh joints, are physically the same thing, and they're inverted. They're just flipped over on the other side. He didn't mirror and make two separate molds or, for it. It is the same exact thing. So it's basically, the joint has this, like, I'll call it the shield. There's like a disc behind it. And so in one side they face out and one side they face backwards. Mm-hmm. So that will change the acoustics of that click. Mm-hmm. So this side, I don't know. I mean, they're pretty close, but they're just ever so slightly different.
BJ Dolpham says, weird question, but how does the click in the movement feel? Does it feel harsh compared to before, if that makes sense?
I mean, comparing it to before, yes, it feels harsh because you feel it. Like before, you feel it's smooth. I feel like before, I mean, we have it. I can get pretty smooth, but then you have the random sticking that it does.
Right.
It's really unpredictable where it wants to stop. So you get smoother control over the joint in this, but then you get more chaos in like where it wants to stop, exactly what you want, but you can make more minute adjustments.
I mean, it's basically like it's what he talks about is was it a springboard?
Yeah, it's a springboard on top of a gear that basically, so it locks in. And I talked about this, I think, the first time we saw the pictures of the gears. I was like, all right, this is going to have a very particular degree of movement. It's like 10 degrees here. I think it was like 12 degrees on some of the other ones. And so the thigh, for instance, being the biggest joint, has the biggest movement between each of those stops, each of those degrees. So it is, there is some sacrifice, oddly enough, in articulation. Mm-hmm. Some gains in other places in articulation.
Right. Speaking of that, do you want to talk about the hip?
Let's talk about it. We'll talk about it in posing, but before we do, if you are enjoying this exclusive look at your Evolve frame, be sure to like this video. It is definitely one of the best ways that you can help us get this out to more people and help support the channel.
We should also make a re-mention that Danny did provide us with this doll, but he is not sponsoring the video in any other way.
Well, okay. We can't say that specifically because this video is sponsored by the fact that he gave us this doll.
Right.
But he does not control what we're saying. He's not, he does not have any say in how we react to this or anything like that. He just gave us, the doll, and he gave us early access to it.
Right.
So, let's talk posing. Let's put some dolls back together. While I do this, I don't know if you want to.
Moda Corner says, "Can you make her sit and do hero pose?" We are about to do that, and we are going to do it with both frames so that you can see the difference.
That's that girl. I guess I should have.
Yeah, you might as well just pull her boobs down, her bra down off over her hips or something. So they'll both be braless.
Oh, do we want to? Yeah, all right.
Just pull it down.
Ah!
It should work.
You know what? In that case, we're better off.
Just,
We're going naked.
All right, well, she's not, because we want to be able to make sure that the audience knows the difference.
That's true.
So there's going to be more doll nudity, and we're sorry about that, but that's what you're here for.
Maybe we should grab a non... We were like, we wanted the only difference so that you could see, but maybe we should now grab a T or... Probably T. I don't know.
I think we're fine.
All right. I guess we don't really need to see under her underwear.
I just keep looking at that gapping in the standard bust, and it's just like... We need to go to...
All right, so let's do sitting as I drop things.
Here we have the V2 frame.
And typically, in order to get them to really sit, you basically have to kind of force the spine forward a little bit. And that's the best I can do with the V2. And
so she sits with kind of a sway back, like a reverse sway back, actually.
Yeah, and I have... with clothes on, this starts to change. That's all of the stuff we're about to do will change if we put on jeans and things like that. That will start to limit, have to limit the range of movement.
Right.
All right. So here is our previous frame, hunched. Not too bad. I was able to get the legs spread a little bit.
This curve. You see the top of her back, and it curves down in. Let's move this arm so they can see better. So you can see how it's curving down to the seat.
All right. You want to take her? Let's see. Try and put her legs together as much as possible. That's pretty good.
That's significantly straighter.
Yep.
So that curve is not nearly as pronounced. You don't have that like hunchback going on anymore.
Yeah, the sitting is definitely improved, largely by the new hip joints. A lot of the movement here has to do with the new hip joints. But we do have, a little bit more extended. So here's like the elbow. You can very easily now pull out to the right amount.
Getting that extension is a lot easier, the one that you want.
And then get that double elbow.
She can get her hands so easily like behind her neck now, too. Like much easier than before.
Yeah. It's just, it's a subtle amount, but it just pushes... it pushes it just over the edge.
It's just this little bit smoother.
And like I said, I really appreciate the haptic feedback in this joint when you're pulling it out, because you know how far you've pulled it out.
Right.
And you can easily just go, boop, and you're not gonna you have to pull harder to get this out of there. So you know that you can just pull down and rotate.
This is going to be great for people who do like stop motion and stuff, because you will have distinct, distinct places to move to.
Yep. I accidentally clicked on the Motocorners question, but I will answer it. Can she cross her legs? She is not designed to cross her legs, but I will show you what happens when you do, and it is certainly. Let's do as always.
We'll do V2 first.
All right, so this is the previous frame. You really have to kind of rotate the shin a bit.
And then you sort of bend that other leg.
And this is pulling a lot. I mean, I've done it. That's about the best you can do, like sitting on the knee, something like that. I've got a picture.
Turn her sideways so they can see the way it hits.
So not great. If I wanted to force the frame more and risk damaging her, I could probably get just over, but I don't think it would stay very well. And here, again, this is not designed to do this.
And Danny specifically said in his article that this is one of the things it is not designed to do.
But just the ability to do this makes things easier.
So you can actually get more of a cross.
It's a little more somewhere between a man cross and a woman's cross. Like,
right.
You can't quite get all the way down, but as you start to kind of pull things over, but you really are sort of pushing up against the limits of probably not so much the frame, but the...
and I want to say it impacts it's pushing her torso in right here.
Yeah.
Which you can't see, but it is pushing the vinyl in.
Here's our third example.
This is the V2 frame with the soft vinyl.
The soft vinyl, this will show you that it is... It can do better. So... if Danny does put out soft bodies with the Evolve frame, I think they will probably be the ultimate posing smart doll. Because you start to lose some of the issues that you get where the vinyl gets in the way, and you can, it can push and smoosh.
But again, even with her, it's squishing in her belly a little bit.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine, and it's going to go back. Danny does also say, though, if you do stuff like this and you deform, you basically risk deforming the vinyl. Most times you can fix that with the hairdryer. And bring it back to what it has, its memory back to where it was.
But, this is not something that he designed this doll to do. He just discovered that things like the splits, he could make them do, which is something else we have to show you and talk about.
So, yeah. Splits. No. No splits. And we have experienced a doll that can do the splits, and what you have to do is start twisting, essentially, the joints, rotating them so that they will go out further.
Someone asked, how do you get a soft vinyl? Someone answered, he released prototypes with soft vinyl. This is a prototype. This is Elena. She's one of the prototypes from a few runs of prototypes back. We got one. He did say that in addition to heel feet, soft vinyl parts are on the development list currently somewhere, but are not guaranteed, and he doesn't know when.
Yeah, he doesn't know if it's really going to go to production or not. It's going to depend. Again, from our point of view, the two combined, I believe, provide something. I wouldn't put it on every doll, and I don't think every person would need it. I would love to have a few soft bodies for photographs.
Yeah, one in each color.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
that
fine,
kind of thing.
So, doing the splits again.
Haptic feedback.
Yeah. This is not something that is. This is not something that this was designed to do. This was not designed to be the most posable doll in the world. This was designed around strength, durability, aesthetics, and consequently has gained some flexibility in posing.
This was actually one of the first poses we tried to do, and we ran into some trouble.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you why. Now, we are going to get some interesting views here. So you can see here, this is the hole in the vinyl. This is how they put the thigh onto the thigh socket, or the joint. And it does give us a peek into the joint inside. So I'm going to raise that up and rotate a little bit. And now put clothes on this, won't see that part. But, you've got already some, here's a flying kick,
Right, or yoga pants or whatever, yeah.
On the other side, once we get to here, we have to start rotating. Okay, so this works. But the problem that I had, and I may still have the problem, is I got turned around as to which direction this was going and rotated this too far, and now it won't go down. Now, I thought it was supposed to be able to go down, and I couldn't see the direction that the joint is in. Mm-hmm. So as I kept rotating this around, the vinyl sort of started separating from and would not grip onto the joint. So it was like a ratchet. It would work one way but wouldn't work the other way.
Right.
And so once I figured out the direction it was supposed to go into and brought it back, it worked. So doing it the second time, it's just one of those things, just be careful when you're, I would avoid pushing it beyond its limits.
You can actually do damage to the hip joint. It's not good.
I could have, in that moment, if I was not paying real attention, and and I think most people are probably really afraid of breaking their doll, so they probably wouldn't do this. But it wouldn't be that hard to just snap that leg off by putting too much force at pretty much at its limits. Mm-hmm. So you just want to be aware of what the doll was really designed to do. And if you are looking for something with infinite posability, this isn't it yet.
No. But, Danny does specify that he is still working on this frame. There are going to be new iterations, and you might find that you get one doll, and you get another doll a couple months later, and it's got a different version of the frame.
Yeah.
So...
Which may be something that you love, or maybe something that you're like, oh, this is awful. I bought this, I just bought this thing, and now there's a new, better version of it out. What we do know is this is a great frame, and if he continues to get feedback from people and continues to, improve it, I'm all for it. Mm-hmm. Yes, please. Let me ask, is can the knees touch? At this point, not and hold, because of the crotch.
They don't have a muscle in their thigh. They can't squeeze and stay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not too much there. You would need to find a way to put more pressure on it. But you can do a lot of I really like the ability for this to swing out. That is nice. I mean, you could kind of do it before, but it's so much easier now. All right, so what do we got next?
I was working on the hero pose with V2.
Oh, yeah. And look at this.
Yeah, to get her to stand. There we go. So you see we've got, can you see the difference in the position that you can get from the spine? It's similar to the sitting. It just does, it leans backwards. To get that doesn't work nearly as well.
Yeah. We also had, what about the, you were doing the S curve?
Mm-hmm. So this is an example of like how the poses look a little bit, just this touch bit more natural on the new frame. Putting her on her knees too works pretty well.
Yeah, all right.
So like this is one of your like almost your boudoir poses. And then the full head tilt the other
way?
Yeah. And then if we can get the hands like to the hips or something so that they can see the torso. Yeah, there you go. You see how much smoother that whole body line looks? And that nice full head tilt?
Just being able to do... I love that.
You're going this way with the head. And we want to go this way with the torso.
You, can you even... There you go.
And the head.
Technically should be here, but...
So you see how they...
So much more natural on the Evolve frame. I like it. I want to do laying down.
Another relaxed pose. You want the knee up. You're showing off the fact that you can get that foot flat and the hip turned out.
You can't really see that. No, you gotta... You can't see that, yeah. I don't know.
So it's a little bit more natural on this one. And I love the way the knee looks comparatively. Like when you put the knee up, if you're shooting from above, you can see that hole that we talked about earlier. And it's not nearly as visible on the new frame.
I asked for a how high up. How high up can the head look? That is...
She has to tilt back. Let me just sit her up again. Yeah, her whole back goes back when you try to go beyond this point. So there is a difference.
I can't.
Maybe if you do your top down and show how the neck is positioned. We have to do a Dalgeret pose. Well,
So
they
the
only have standard
Dalgeret,
busts on.
the Dalgeret pose is. I don't. So like my thing is like you don't really need, but all right. So the Dalgeret pose is move, put your like chest to the sky, and then your neck there.
It actually looks more natural when...
She could go too far back now, but now you can, you know. They use bigger boobs.
Yeah. You just got to picture the bigger boobs because we didn't do them. Let's see. Oh, so somebody asked if that we could show the difference. We could show the top of the frame by like taking her head and arms and
Oh, yeah, all right.
bust off.
Let's look inside the body.
Jane Hall says now all my girls are going to call for one. Get one. Decide if you like it. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, no returns there. But you should be able to, if you don't like it, you should be able to sell it on the secondhand.
Yeah.
There's lots of people will be looking at. So this is the top of your spine. This is your neck. The neck has haptic feedback only really this way. And you can see by the ridges on these balls. So the spine, similarly. And hold this for a second.
Oh, Rachel, thank you so much. She says, I'm so excited you are getting to show us the new frame. It's fantastic. It was also fun meeting you both briefly in Dallas. Ah, there's your squee.
Where did I take them out?
You guys looked so cute at your table. They're in these wonderful, like, Lolita style costumes. It was great.
Well, I was looking for, I guess I'll just use my phone.
Well, while he's doing that, I will just just comment, like, just physically look at this and look at the durability potential. Like, this just looks so much more durable. And it's also more, as Danny says, more aesthetically pleasing. He's got these cool mech style, panels and things in the frame.
I know he designed this thing to be like a mecha style inside, so that they can be put on display as just the frame, like he's been doing, or never seen at all. It's a very Apple thing to do. Like the design decisions made on this tiny thing inside the computer that no one's ever going to see, but that one guy knows.
Lovely Day says, looks like it'll be less likely to get out of place, too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. Like I said, it's a little bit more, I can't really get down in there. It's a little more limited in terms of like the degree of movement, but those degrees, it's going to hit it and stay. So I've already been really impressed with being able to just stand the thing up. And of course now they're in a weird position, but on its feet. And once I got that, that spot where it was going to stand up, it just stayed there. Like it felt like I had the boots on. It really, really nicely. Whereas before, I always feel like, you put it in, usually what you do with the legs to get them to stand on their own is you go a little bit forward on the ankle then a little bit back on the knee. Basically you're bending the knee a little bit. And on the previous frame, that meant that eventually the pressure would start to push that ankle joint forward, and they would fall. And with these, that's not happening.
It's pretty cool. The other thing I noted is the weight. Linda Lyons, thank you so much.
You got to wait for the announcement.
We're going to wait now. The other thing I noticed was the weight.
Hey, thank you, Linda.
The super chat, the animation is a little bit behind the chat. The weight is supposedly heavier on the new frame. So if you have to be conscious of exactly how much you're carrying, it's not that much heavier, but apparently it is a little bit heavier. I thought it was actually either lighter or the same, and I think the reason why is something that Danny mentioned about the frame rocking inside the V2.
Yeah, there's more wiggle room in here.
Yeah, so when you pick it up and you move it around, you feel a little bit of that shift. You don't feel that in the Evolve frame.
These feel so solid. These feel like, even though I know it's not, this feels like this is one piece and not a shell on top of a frame.
We know for sure it's not because of doing the splits and getting stuck.
Yeah, well, and we've taken off the pieces too. We took off the shins. But that is very, very, very cool. Let's take a peek at, we talked about the limited degree of movement. We talked about it being a work in progress. I'm just looking at the reasons to avoid buying this. We did note the hand and feet and shin sockets are a little bit more difficult to remove. It is, he says it's still not indestructible, which, basically, no, this is not, this is more durable, but it's not the most durable thing in the world. But he does make a point to mention, which I thought was nice, and it's actually one of the other reasons not to, is it's probably overkill for people who just display indoors. Right. This durability is really take your dolls outside and have fun, go hiking with your dolls, or go take photographs, or whatever. They are made for ruggedness. So it's one of those things where, in the end, you look at price point. If you compare it to other dolls, they're similarly priced anyway, and they're less durable. So, I don't know what you get out of necessarily. Let's see. And again, we already talked about, there's some improvements in articulation, but probably not as much as you necessarily are looking for. But there are some key improvements.
Yeah.
Let me check his page here. We'll be talking more about this. Let's see.
Alana Corbett says, hi everyone, late to the stream, but so excited for the new frame now that I have a smart doll. You'll be able to watch the replay if you want to catch up, and we will be discussing more about the Evolve frame on Monday.
So here is, again, we'll be going through this again on Monday, you're basically trading in some creaking for some clicking. There's a lot more sound. We did have somebody in in our Discord basically asking about the sound, talking about sensitivity to sound and things like that. And I would say that if you are sensitive to sound or the feeling of the feedback, the feeling isn't huge. It doesn't reverberate as much as the old Barbies necessarily would. But again, try and get your hands on one of these before you make your decision.
Yeah, the old Barbie knees and stuff felt a little mushy. because you had that thick layer of older vinyl around the knee, and then the knee itself was like much thinner. So you got this kind of squishy popping noise that I can understand I liked it, but I can understand for some people that it might be weird.
And at the same time, but those joints were like directly surrounded by the vinyl, which was thick, versus the joints are connected sort of at the ends, and it's not like reverberating all the way down. So I don't know. It's really, I'm kind of enjoying it. I'm sort of ranging from it doesn't bother me to I kind of like it.
My thing would be if there's a particular smart doll you've been waiting for, and you know that the next time you're going to be able to get her, she's going to be on the Evolve frame. I would say get it and try it, but don't expect that you're going to love it, and expect that you're going to want to look for someone to trade with.
He also does mention, we did talk about this, but here's the specific numbers. 40 grams heavier, which is not a huge amount.
No.
And 2 millimeters shorter. Should not need to change any of your patterns for those of you who sew. We mentioned this, 90 degrees on the knees. You because they are closer in, it can't go quite as far back as the previous frame, and the neck head. I didn't really have problems with it, but they do mention the neck head being. Yeah, I mean it takes a little bit more of a twist
To get it into place properly.
to get it into place. Yeah. And of course, thank you so much, Danny. I gotta say, now that I know this, I certainly will not be buying a Smart Doll Evolve frame because it does not run Crisis. For those of you who don't get the joke, historically, Crisis is a game on PCs that required a ridiculous amount of specs, and no matter how many upgrades you got, you could never run Crisis. And he does mention here, we sort of talked about it earlier, if you're talking about the disc on the top of the head, the standalone frame with the photos with the mechanical hands and the head are just for showcase.
But he does say that he's planning on making the 3D data available for people who want to print their own.
Yep. Then we just need access to the frame. I really want like the frames. I just want a frame like he has to have around. So we will. I think. Let me just check. I think that's it. Yeah. And as he says again, just like Cortex, this is an experiment. He could find this. I don't think this is going to be a failure or anything. And even if it ends up being completely different in a year, all of this was well worth it. This is a great improvement, I think, on most doll frames. I would be surprised if, and I hope, like, because this is kind of the point. I hope people at Volks take note and start, trying to innovate, as well, because, those typical vinyl doll frames have been the way they are for a while, and this is the first big step that I can think of.
Volks has done a few iterations of their frame, but it's still wobbly.
Yeah.
Like it does not hold, to me anyway, it does not hold as well as Smart Doll frames do, and now especially the new frame. But yeah, I mean, there are negatives. It's a little bit louder.
There she is.
Looks so weird.
There we go. Love it.
So there are definitely reasons not to buy this frame, not to buy a Smart Doll with the Evolve frame, but there are some great things about it. It's very poseable. I mean, look how steady she's standing right there. She is not on our usual. We usually have a stand put up behind this point in the table.
Yeah.
And she is not on a stand. She is just standing there.
Yeah, we only stand them up like this if they're wearing the CJ boots. That's
Right.
it. So that alone, so impressed. All right, let us take a look at your questions if you've added them in. I got a couple in here. We may skip past them if we have answered them previously, but we'll note that. Let's see. How do we feel about the evolved frame noises? How do you feel about dolls, creaks, squeaks, and noises in general?
Like, do they bother us normally,
Yeah.
and does this bother us any more so? They don't really bother me that much normally.
Yeah.
And these don't bother me anymore. In fact, if anything, I'd say I like them better because they sound more purposeful. You're clicking from point to point instead of just there being a squeak.
You know exactly. If I will say this, if I could have the security of this with the small degree of change of the previous generation, I would love it. But I would trade that away for the strength and accuracy of this.
I mean, I will say if you're someone who is bothered by those creaks, you are going to hear them, you are going to feel them, but it's only going to be until you get them into the pose that you want. And then you'll forget that it creaks and squeaks. I mean, that it clicks.
Yeah. Will the price be going up a lot because of the new frame? We haven't seen any talk of price.
We are not privy to that information. We are just doing a first look.
Yep.
He hasn't told us. I know he tries very hard not to increase the price of the dolls. Like, that's why he started charging for the shipping, because he started setting rates for shipping because he didn't want to increase the price of the doll to compensate.
Yeah.
So you get that.
So we don't know yet. My hope is, our assumption, like Sandy said, I would hope that it's going to be the same, but what I'm sure of is when it drops, Danny will say, here's what it is, here's the price, and here's why. Which I think we could all understand if there were an increase based on the R&D. But I gotta say, Danny does so much R&D all the time. For instance, the licensed dolls are practically all R&D and are losing. He has said specifically, they lose their money. They're a loss leader. That's what I'm looking for. So I know. Yeah, we don't know for sure. I'm guessing, well, by the 3rd, you'll find out. So, unfortunately, no advance notice yet. Mimico Minis asks, which smart doll body do you prefer / like the most? The soft vinyl, the previous frame, or the evolved frame?
I love the fact that you can do ballet poses and stuff with the soft body on the V2 fairly well. I would look forward and be curious to seeing the vinyl on the evolved frame. And then the evolved frame itself I like as well. I don't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with the V2 frame, but now that I see the smoothness aesthetically of the evolved frame, I'm going to go with that simply because I sew. So, and I like to style the dolls. So when I see an outfit on them or something like that, I like the way that it looks.
Yeah.
However, I don't see the V2 frame is still perfectly excellent. So for the people who are going to be trading for V2 frames, I don't think you're losing.
I do. They're two different questions, first of all, because frame and the shell are two different things.
Right.
So hands down, evolve over the previous frame. I really like the soft vinyl. I am not a fan of the soft silicone, bodies for myself. The soft vinyl, though, that Danny put out is, to me, the best of both worlds. And so I would say right now, Evolve frame, but Danny, if you are thinking about doing it, like even if it's a limited run, I would totally buy a soft body on this frame. And in fact, I would probably seriously think about, if he wasn't doing that, buying a frame and
putting Elena onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's definitely a consideration.
But again, more limited use than that. I don't think there's that much of a need for general doll usage. These are great for photography. In certain situations, I love that extra flexibility with the soft vinyl.
Will you keep Never Say Never on the Evolve frame, or will you put one of your other ladies on it?
Yeah, that's from Holly Dollnut.
We have a thing about the bodies being the body that came, like they own their body. We don't like to swap bodies if we can avoid it. Bodies. But in the case of this frame, especially since we only have one, I think it will be her body. But if John needs it because he's doing photos or something and he wants to use that body, we will swap the head for a photo shoot.
Sophia T. Asks, would the bumps that make the sound eventually wear down from repeated movement during posing over time? We don't have a specific answer on this. I don't think so, because of basically the way the springboards are made and the grease that is in there.
Right, and he talks about the material that is used to make the frame being it's used for consumer electronics. And I forget what else he said it's used for, but it's used for things that are just used and used and used repetitively.
Yeah, it's if it was expected to. Danny is fastidious about if there's honestly, if there was an expected lifespan like that's anything that's realistic, I think Danny would tell us or not be using it. But it is very, very tough material. He has flexible springboards that are then pushed up and then locked back into place around the gear. And that movement, which is what you're talking about, is also, they have grease in there to facilitate.
And
that
if you
movement.
go back through the photos, he has put this frame through so many tests, and he's been carrying the Evolve frame for himself on photo shoots and on trips and stuff for the past year. So, I mean, he feels fairly confident enough to put it out now, although he does say that it is going to have more iterations.
And are they more heavy? Yeah, we talked about this a couple of times. They are 40 grams heavier.
But because of the rock in the V2 frame, where it actually kind of, you can feel the shift in the frame inside the body, to me, it doesn't seem heavier at all. And again, was it 40 grams?
40 grams.
That's not that much.
Yeah, I really don't notice, and it just feels much more stable. So, yeah. We love her. She is amazing, and I feel like maybe I need to... Should we wait on an induction? Are you ready with a name yet?
I'm not. I have 3 or 4 I'm tossing about.
I feel like she shouldn't get inducted in such a state anyway.
No, she needs to have her clothes on and stuff. Whether I make the outfit or not, she needs her body put together and her clothes on.
So maybe...
You can just put on the hat that Linda Lyons made. That looks cute.
It looks like she's just wearing dumb waders, for fishing, except it's a human suit.
Yeah, she's a robot wearing a human suit.
Yeah.
And it almost, the way her arms are right now, it's like she's like holding them up or something.
Yeah. Oh man.
I will say never. I put her in. I got some wigs from Leaky World at DollCon, and I put her in this blonde bombshell wig, and oh my god, she looks good. She was like she totally gives me semi-real moment vibes.
The chat is demanding that I
put her boobs back on. At least her boobs and her hair. I do love this wig too. The long, straight black wig is so pretty. And nothing feels quite like a brand new Culture Japan wig.
I gotta say, the way it all fits together, how many times with the older frame did you
this isn't sitting right.
Right, yeah, like getting the shoulders in the right place. I just pop that down on and...
I'm trying to think what the con is to that, but I'm not sure there is one.
I don't think there is. It just fits beautifully. Hey, the hands went on the right way.
Yeah, Magic Durgan says, I remember you running in to show the wig to John last night.
Yeah, we were playing D&D last night.
And I came running and I'm going like, look, it's semi-real moment. Let's put her hair on her too before you get her all stood up.
No one would stand her up.
I wouldn't. Would you guys stand this girl up? And then we'll put the hat back on because it looks really cute. And you know, she's cold because she has no clothes on. So I love these hats, Linda. I love the scale on them is so beautiful. You did exactly the right size.
Yeah, I got this all messed up now.
There.
Have a seat.
She's sitting. There you go, guys.
All right. Well, we hope you have enjoyed this sneak peek at the Evolve frame and Never Say Never. We will be discussing in more depth Danny's article. If you haven't read it, definitely check it out, but we'll be digging in on Monday's news, and you can look forward to this being released in full on Mirai's birthday. That's March 3rd.
And thank you so much to Danny Chu for sending us Never Say Never for review.
Yeah, it's so good. Thank you so much, Danny, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.